What changed in shipping chokepoint strategy? And who gains now is less about the headline and more about who stands to gain from the shift. By the end, you will see what changed in shipping chokepoint strategy and who gains now, who benefits now, and why the stakes are climbing. It sounds like a clash of ideas, but the deeper engine is leverage, incentives, and positioning. Right now, something historic is changing in the world's narrowest straits. What was once a public highway is being transformed into a geopolitical kill switch. This isn't just about piracy or temporary blockades anymore. It's a deliberate shift in how power is exercised on the high seas. By the end of this, you will see why your morning coffee and your car's battery are now part of a global hostage negotiation. For 70 years, the U.S. Navy acted as the world's global police officer. They protected the chokepoints to ensure the flow of cheap goods for everyone. But the cost of that protection has become a burden the U.S. is no longer willing to carry alone. When the protector steps back, a vacuum is created. And in geopolitics, a vacuum is always filled by someone with an agenda. We assumed global trade was an unstoppable force of nature. We were wrong. It was a fragile agreement that is currently being shredded. Look at the Red Sea. A group with a few $1,000 drones is holding $1 trillion industry at bay. The math of war has changed. It is now cheaper to disrupt trade than it is to protect it. This is the first major reversal in shipping strategy since the invention of the container. In the old model, you competed on efficiency. Today, you compete on leverage. If you control the choke point, you don't need a massive economy. You just need a trigger finger. So, who actually gains when the world's veins are constricted? This is where what changed in shipping chokepoint strategy. And who gains now stops sounding rhetorical and starts looking strategic. First, the regional disruptors who want to force the West back to the bargaining table by making the Suez Canal or the Strait of Malacca unsafe. They drive up the cost of living in every Western capital. This isn't a military victory they're after. It's an inflationary one. Second, the nations building the bypass. China and Russia are heavily investing in land routes that don't rely on sea lanes they can't control. The more dangerous the ocean becomes, the more valuable these land bridges feel. Every ship that diverts around the Cape of Good Hope is a win for the Northern Sea route. This shift is creating a new hierarchy of power. If you are landlocked, but on a rail corridor, your value just skyrocketed. If you are a coastal state without a massive navy, you are suddenly vulnerable. But here is the twist. Even the winners are playing a dangerous game. When trade becomes a weapon, trust evaporates. But the key point is not the public language. It is the incentive structure underneath it. We are moving from an era of just-in-time to just-in-case. Companies are now stockpiling goods, driving up prices even further. This isn't a glitch in the system. This is the new system. The strategy has moved from protecting the flow to choosing who gets to flow. In the Strait of Hormuz, the tension is no longer about oil tankers. It's about the precedent. If one nation can close a gate, they all can. This creates a scramble for maritime insurance that is bankrupting smaller players. Only the giants, the U.S., China, and the EU, can afford to keep their goods moving. Everyone else is being forced to pick a side. This is the return of spheres of influence. And it's happening at sea. The unease you feel about the economy isn't just about interest rates. It's the realization that the geography of the 19th century has caught up with the technology of the 21st. The U.S. is about to do something historic to reclaim its position. By militarizing trade lanes directly, they are ending the neutral ocean policy forever. They are saying, if you want to use these lanes, you must play by our rules. This is a direct challenge to the rising powers who have benefited from American protection for decades. The question is, what happens when those powers say no? And this is where what changed in shipping chokepoint strategy and who gains now stops being a debate and starts becoming a power move with real costs. Every time a drone is launched in the Middle East, the price of a laptop in London changes. This is the geopolitics of the everyday. But you are no longer a spectator. You are a stakeholder in the battle for these straits. The old decision to let the world trade freely was a choice, not a law of nature. And that choice is being unmade in real time. Watch the insurance rates. Watch the shipping schedules. Watch the naval deployments. They tell a story of a world that is becoming smaller and much more dangerous. The winners aren't just those with the biggest ships. The winners are those who can survive a world without them. Strategic autonomy is the new gold standard. If your country relies on a chokepoint half a world away, you are in trouble. The Strait of Hormuz is no longer just a place on a map. It's a barometer for global stability. Right now, the pressure is at an all-time high. But the biggest shock is still to come. What happens when the U.S. stops caring about the chokepoints altogether? If America becomes energy independent and moves its factories home, it has no reason to police the world. At that moment, the rest of the world is left to fight over the scraps of the global commons. The ocean will become a series of private toll roads, and the price of entry will be your political allegiance. The history of the next century is being written in these narrow passages. It's a story of power leverage and the end of the open sea. What matters now is who gets more leverage if what changed in shipping chokepoint strategy, and who gains now keeps moving in this direction. And the answer to that question will determine the fate of nations for the next 50 years.